Man, for the father of murder, he sure does have a nice beard.
Ooh, that's a hot mug, guy.
Hey guys, this is my review for episode 11 of Supernatural Season 9, Firstborn, and this is the introduction of Cain, the Mark of Cain, the first blade, and something that would essentially become a pretty big crux for Dean leading up to the end of this season and into Season 10 and a little bit of Season 11, sort of. Someone made a comment in one of my recent videos about how last season was really Sam's journey, his arc with the trials, and after that he doesn't really get shit and it's all Dean, and I cannot disagree, because aside from the Galadriel thing being basically Terminator Sam, the entire focus of the story is now on Dean with this mark, and they are trying to make Sam important in this episode, but really it's all about Dean. And even with that issue, this is actually a really good episode. Dean unfortunately has to team up with Crowley because that is how they're going to find the first blade, which is a suggestion from Crowley about how to kill Abaddon. The origins of said are shown with Cain coming in and killing some Civil War vets in a cabin, which, by the way, is the cabin that the brothers keep going to. It's just a really useful reuse of a set. Turns out that there's a little bit of knowledge of John from a former hunt. They go to this lady who has this crick in her knee, and that pretty great ability to be able to tell when a demon is in the house. However, she appears to be really fucking stupid when it comes to the devil's traps and removing them. This is the first mark against this episode because this was just unbelievably dumb. I don't know if they thought it was badass, but no, it's dumb. Not only one, you're firing a gun inside a store. Why the fuck would you do that when we have seen multiple occasions you could just like... Aside from that, we see that Dean is following in his father's footsteps in terms of using people and leaving them to die, essentially, because she ain't gonna live much longer after this. But when we go to Cain's house, it gets great. Crowley is terrified. He's literally calling him the father of death. At one point when he sees the first mark, he does a cross.
Really? Now? It's the bloody Mark of Cain.
But we find out more and more about Cain, more and more about his history, and just get to gaze on Timothy Odmansson's fantastic beard. My lord, he is gorgeous to look at. I'm not going to regret saying that whatsoever. This dude is a magnificent specimen of what a man can do with a beard. I only wish I could look this good. Besides that, we actually get a cool introduction to this character of Cain, and once again, kind of like what they did with Lucifer, he is talking about kind of the sort of unofficial history of what happened to him, and that he didn't kill his brother out of anger and greed and hate, but he actually killed him because he was being influenced by Lucifer and was a way to save him and sacrifice himself, which is... Turns out that he created the knights, and then he found a lady and basically killed all the knights because he was pissed off with them. But unfortunately, Abaddon, conveniently enough, was the one who took over his wife and forced him to kill her, but she was able to escape. And after kind of a corny death scene from her, which is another little mark against this episode, we see him testing Dean in terms of his violence, in terms of his killing ability, in terms of who he is and what he is after, and his willingness. Throughout the entire episode, he's just keep on saying, "You're not going to stop, are you?" So in order to start this whole thing, in order to be able to wield the blade, you must hold the mark. He passes that on before letting Dean and Crowley leave the house after a bunch of Abaddon's goons come in. And what is probably such a badass setup with him rolling up his sleeves as he's about to go to town on these demons. I love the red light coming from the house. I really, really wish I knew what he was doing to them. Like, is he actually like pulling them apart or something like that? The entire story bit with Dean and Crowley is great, especially at the end when you find out that Crowley's technically been stringing Dean along, that this has actually been all of a means to an end for Crowley, because of course Crowley's Crowley.
You're good. But I'm Crowley.
Then we kind of go to the other part of this episode, the other kind of mark against it. That's Cass and Sam. Now, I will admit, while it's not as entertaining as Dean and Crowley and Cain, you do have a pretty good kind of lesson with Castiel, and it involves a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I still can't believe I'm fucking saying that. It's through that, it's him remembering what it was like to be human, all the while trying to extract some of Gadriel's grace from Sam before it's all lost through the healing process. You can see that while Sam feels this utter guilt about what's going on, and he just feels so useless in everything that's going on, which I mean, he's not exactly wrong because he technically is kind of useless right now in the story. Castiel does not want to throw his life away because he has learned the meaning of life furthermore from his time as being a human. So there's that. It's not stellar, but it's still got some heart to it. It's one of those rare moments where Sam and Cass get to have a moment, because it's usually always been Dean and Cass. So with Sam and Cass actually getting to have a little bit of bonding, that's nice to see considering we've had these two characters next to each other for so long. In the end, Firstborn is a great episode. It's fun. It's got some great action. It's got some great little heartfelt moments as well. It's got a great introduction of a character. It just has a few little bits of stupid bullshit in it, from the lady shooting the fucking devil's trap to the terrible death scene, and a little bit of the melodramaticness with Sam and the whole Gadriel Grace thing. Otherwise though, it's still a stellar episode, so I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 7. It's definitely one of the better ones of the season as well. But those are my thoughts about this episode. Let's see what you guys have to say. Firstborn is a fun setup for the latter seasons while keeping the present issues interesting also. Robbie Thompson is one of my favorite writers post season 5. Kane certainly is the biggest highlight of the episode, which ties in with Michael telling Dean that family bloodlines connect of being vessels for angels. It also shows how much more demons are sympathetic than the angels. Yeah, that has been kind of evident for just they're more willing to accept things or try different things. I love how Kane prevented Lucifer from possessing Abel. I love how Dean is unshaven to resemble Kate. Yeah, I think just like you definitely see that Jensen likes to have a beard more often. Crowley really hits it on the head by describing Dean as, "Your problem, mate, is that nobody hates you more than you do. Believe me, I've tried." That is a great line. Meanwhile, I love Castiel and Sam bonding and find a way to capture Gadriel. Castiel really shines in this episode, showing his experience as a human made him empathize with Winchesters. I love how Castiel also empathetically owns up to his own actions by saying, "The only person who has screwed up things more consistently than you is me, and I know what that guilt feels like. And now I know what it means to feel sorry." Sam, I'm sorry. I have a few gripes. Nobody talks about how John keeps having one night stands and acts like how he loves Mary more than everything. Yeah, no, you're right. It also felt formulaic at how Crowley and Castiel both telling the brothers they need the other to stop the other brother to stop Metatron and Abaddon. They really hammer it in how Castiel and Crowley are experiencing the same thing of humanity. Yep, pretty much. And yeah, John, well, I think we kind of established that John has never really been that great of a father figure. Like, it's been just kind of a day, like, he was awful so the brothers could learn to be better. And that's kind of my thing. I really enjoyed seeing both Sam and Dean focusing on their goals, for Dean stopping Abaddon and Sam trying to track down Gadriel. I absolutely enjoyed the character Kane. Timothy Olmsted is perfectly cast. It's sad how they didn't use him more because he's a very interesting demon. Unfortunately, Timothy was also doing Psych at the time. I've always meant to see Psych, and I've heard it's really, really good. And he was right to see the similarities between him and Dean. I totally understand why he made Dean promise to look for him, because once he broke that promise to Coletta, he knew he couldn't stop this time. I did look up his IMDb, and he's only in, technically speaking, 2 more episodes, and that's kind of unfortunate. This is one of my favorite episodes. Kane truly is a presence in this episode, is what the demons used to be like, that fear. I wish Abaddon was treated with the same. Yeah, she's kind of just bleh. Like, she was really good in season 8, but in season 9 she's been kind of eh. My favorite part is the Cass and Sam scene, so that's interesting, especially when Cass empathizes with Sam, because Cass has also made the same mistakes and he's relating to the guilt that Sam's going through in season 7. I wish there was more Cass and Sam moments in latter episodes. I absolutely agree, because we could have seen more of their relationship. Yeah, it would have been great. But I also like seeing Dean and Crowley team up. I miss when Crowley was smart, knowing when to work with the Winchesters. Not like what Dab did to Crowley in 12. Well, fuck, let's not go there yet. Let's not go to Dab. But yes, I do like what they're doing with Crowley as well. I'm not sure how everyone else feels, but the first Blade storyline is handled very well, especially compared to what we've gotten so far. Going to definitely agree with you here. I won't spoil the foreshadowing this episode alone, but the foreshadowing alone has impressed me. Starting with Kane, one of the most interesting and badass characters in the series. When the show got the spin-off Happy, why didn't they try and make one with him? At least a miniseries, a Western demon hunting. Yeah, I think they just wanted to try and do something that was more than like an ensemble, because that was what CW was, right? It was an ensemble team ups and like different shows. Having it just be about Kane would have been kind of, and also you imagine trying to get that past censors and whatnot. People are like, oh, Kane and Abel. I know we're on a show, it's called Supernatural, but yeah, like there's a long road that would have been a issue. Love this episode, and I love the Mark of Kane arc. Just wish we got here differently. Dean and Crowley's dynamic is both tense, concerning, and fun to watch. Kane was a fun addition to the show and perfectly cast. The way he makes it hard to believe that he's the same character on Psych. Again, I really should watch this show. Also interesting lore change that God never spoke to Abel. Yeah, great fight scenes as well. Biggest highlight for me of this episode is where Cass and Sam actually feel like friends. This is only the first time they've actually had fun banter since Cass got drunk in season 5. That is true. I thought it's been a while. These two are rarely alone together, and they're usually about business or a crisis, and it's always about Dean, really. So glad that Cass used what he learned from this season to stop Sam from pointlessly ending himself. However, despite my praise, I have an issue with both of the plots. First, the whole point of finding the blade and the mark is to stop Abaddon, even though other episodes that reference the Abaddon, but never the Angel Crisis. It's kind of because like the Angel Crisis is not really that big of a deal, and maybe it's because they're killing each other. Now, yeah, she's a threat, and Dean's exhibited a strong hatred for her, but it feels very overblown. It does, because he left saying that he was going to go after Gadriel, and now he's completely gone in a different direction. As for Sam, this is really the only episode that focuses on his trauma over being possessed, and the only time he has flashbacks, and him killing Kevin isn't even one of the flashbacks. The writer's brilliant plan for easing the tension between the brother is to basically diminish or lessen anything Sam went through. And yeah, like I think this is going to be Sam's like shining moment throughout this entire season. Honestly, this is my favorite episode of season 9. I love the character of Kane, and Timothy Amundsen, I apologize if I've been saying his name wrong, by the way, was a good choice to play him. Kane, I would say, is a very underused character in the series. This episode does set up things for the next 2 seasons. Sadly, the show doesn't use Kane to his full potential. The scene where Kane is fighting the house full of demons. By the way, I find it funny that he played Eli on Xena Warrior Princess. Yes, that's true. Or he played Kane. Now he's playing Kane. Admittedly, the funny thing you guys say about Psych, if I am correct, Psych was filmed here, or it was filmed in Seattle, but I know it was close by. So kind of interesting how they just couldn't get him, but if he was a regular character, I get it. Alright guys, thank you for your comments. Now we're moving into Sharp Teeth. Make sure to give me your guys' thoughts about that episode, and I will read this off in the next review. Hope you guys liked this video. If you did, leave a like, and if you're interested in more, subscribe. Until then, see you guys next time.